Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are live. It's Jonathan here with my good co-host Dave. Dave, what's going on, brother?
Jonathan, I'm great, buddy. How are you? Good to see you on this awesome
Good.
Friday.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking about a subject that comes up a lot. We're going to talk about business credit cards. Okay. Both the pros and the cons, and I'm gonna leave the negatives to Dave. Okay. But there's something I'm always asked, and it's, hey, what card do you recommend? Okay. And here's the reality: it depends on what you're going for. If you want max points, right, and you know you're going to use the card for, let's say, marketing, okay, ad spend, there's some Amex cards that give you five times the points. So you should always have an Amex plus all the perks from their silver or platinum or some of their higher cards are unbelievable. Okay. But no, when you have an Amex, for the most part, it's a charge card and you're going to be paying it off at the end of the month. Let me explain to you guys the difference real quick between a charge card and a credit card. A charge card, whatever you spend on it in that month, it has to get paid. It's just a free 30 days afloat. Credit card, you can pay your balance over time. Okay. I prefer credit cards over charge cards, even though charge cards usually have much better points. And I prefer that just in case you can't pay it off. But I always pay it off. And that should be a best practice that you have with your business cards or your personal cards. All right. The next thing that determines what other cards I want to get is what is my favorite airlines. Okay. And so I like to fly Delta. I like to fly JetBlue. Unfortunately, they're not here in Tampa. So I have a difficult decision to make, right? If they're not here, then I have to find airliner that I like that I can frequently use so I can travel basically for free, right? Like I tell you this, I'm going to Aruba in August. I was able to cover half of the flights. The flights were like $3,000 or $4,000. I actually only had to pay for half of that because my points paid for the rest. All right, so it's setting these things up that are going to be smart to help you and your business. And what I would tell you is have all your expenses run through the cards. One, it's easy to track. Two, you're building your credit. Three, you're getting the points back. And make sure you pay it off at the end of every month. Okay. Those are best practices when you're using credit cards. Now, Dave is going to tell you when and why a lot of people get in trouble. I'm going to give you a little hint. People get in trouble when they think they have business cards and they're actually personal cards. And what happens is you run up those cards and then it destroys your credit and hurts you getting financing. Dave, take us through this portion of it.
Yeah, and I want to add to that too. Not only just using personal cards, there are some business credit cards that do report to your personal credit report every month, and they don't make you aware of that. They do in the terms and conditions, but let's be realistic here. How many people actually read that stuff?
Yeah.
But you have to know what you're getting into. The idea is to keep that off your personal credit report. But I can't tell you how many times somebody we send to integrated for financing or somebody that integrated sends us because their personal credit isn't up to snuff. And most of the time it's because business owners assume that when they're using a credit card for the business, even though it's not a specific business credit card, that it's okay. Sure, they're paying it off in full every month. But the problem is if they're in the middle of a cycle and if they let that statement balance hit that credit report, it could show 40%, 50%, 60%, or beyond utilization. And what people in general, not just business owners, but what people in general don't understand that portion on your credit report, credit utilization, which is geared on credit cards, it's 30% of your credit score, or that point value mix is 165 points. So if you're at 60% utilization, letting that statement close, even though you're going to pay it off in full, you're probably going to dump your credit score probably 100 points, maybe even if not more, depending on other factors on your credit report.
Yep.
So, for example, you're going for funding, and if you're mid to low 600s and you don't know why, you have no negative history, you have no late payments, right? 99.9% of the time, that is the reason why. Yep. Right there. And then
so can we implement best practices too?
Yeah.
So best practice, pay your bill, whatever you see on the statement date, whatever that full bill is, you pay that full bill on the statement date, not the due date. Mm-hmm. Dave, why should they do that?
Technically, actually, a few days before, so it gets a cycle and reports it. Why? Because when that gets reported to the credit bureaus, depending on when that reporting date is, it will show 0 instead of a balance. Therefore, you're going to have all those points back. Now, there's the myth too, where you might be losing a couple because you're not showing some utilization, and if that's the case, it's 5 points, give or take. It's not the end of the world. But the idea is, if you are going to move all that to the business side, make sure you have that maximum point value. Make sure you don't have crazy revolving debt on that credit report, and start applying for other companies. Amex, as Jonathan said, great. Pros and cons to that. Probably the next best one is anything under the Chase platform, whether it's Inc., Sapphire Preferred, any one of those under that business platform. To me, in my opinion, those are the 2 best companies.
And guys, if you need it in with Chase, I got you.
Me too. We'll draw straws, right?
No shit, Dave. I love that. That was a perfect answer.
But in all seriousness, there's pros and cons to that. The main pro, guys, and here's the other pro too. If you're banking, even with a big bank, right? And sometimes they'll offer you, hey, we were banking with a large bank before, and they offered a business credit card to us. And the first question I said when they were offering, I said, is this guaranteed approval right away? Are you pulling a credit report? Are you pulling me personally? And they were like, no, you are approved right away. Well, I know that happened because 6 months or a year down the road is from our activity with checking and savings and so forth. So boom, right away, no questions asked, 25,000. I know that reports on our NAV report, okay, on DNB, on Equifax, on Experian, from that activity. Not once has it shown up on the personal side. So long story short, or the moral of the story is, if you're getting something offered from your bank, okay, make sure it's not on your personal credit report. And if they're going to give it to you, just take it. Yep. Just take it. It's going to help you build on that. But yeah, Chase and Amex, 2 of the best. They don't report to your personal credit report. Chase gives you a year of 0% up front with awesome cash back on their Inc. Amex, I mean, you said it's self-explanatory with the points, the perks, the traveling. Both of them, you can co-mingle their points and cards. Amex, you could do it on the personal and the business side. And one thing that you didn't mention, that Amex, the barrier of entry to get in, it's pricey. Let's keep it real here. If you're going to co-mingle a platinum and a gold, it's probably going to be $1,000 a year, whereas Chase is $95 usually per card. I think the Sapphire, not preferred, the reserve, I think that's $300 a year. But guys, at the end of the day, remember the one thing Jonathan didn't mention before, this is all tax deductible stuff anyway. Okay. And when you're breaking down expenses at the end of the year, if you have it tied to your QuickBooks, or if you're going to print receipts, keep it on that business line. Well, okay, I'm using it for business. Boom, statement, transaction. So it kind of makes it easy really to turn into an accountant as well. The negative with Chase, and it's probably my only negative, and a lot of people don't know this, but it is true because I had somebody try to apply recently. They got shotgun pulled by an auto dealer. Chase has this unwritten rule called the 524 rule. And what that is if you have a total of 5 inquiries, whether that's across any bureau at all, like it has to be across the board. So if Experian has 5 inquiries in that 2-year period, it doesn't matter how good your credit score is, you'll get denied. Okay, so that's something that a lot of people don't understand. I had somebody reach out to me, hey, I got declined from Chase. My credit score is 750. Like, what's going on here? How many inquiries do you have? I got shotgun pulled by a dealership. They ended up giving me 8. Well, there's your answer. We got to fix that. Get rid of the inquiries that you're not using for that auto loan. Okay, so that's the only negative gripe I really have with Chase. I mean, everything else, like their customer service is awesome. Their card programs are all awesome. Their incentives, every quarter that they'll give out for cash back or points, is awesome. You know, I always recommend that first if you don't want to take the plunge on Amex to pay it in full, as it is a charge card. Although, you know, we won't get into pay as you go because they have that, but the problem is they end up shutting the card down. Yep. or letting or dropping your quote unquote prepaid spend limit, as they call it. But yeah, I think for anybody getting in to start, I think Chase sometimes is the better route to go than Amex. And trust me, I love Amex, man. I love their points, but again, like probably the only con with that, what it costs to get in, and then the fact that you have to pay everything else up front. But other than that, man, Amex alone, I haven't paid for a flight in probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I will say this though, the big difference between the two is how you can spend your points. I think Chase points go further. However, Amex points are easier to spend and you can shop anywhere. Whereas Chase, when you go to redeem stuff, you're typically redeeming like a gift card at whatever store you want to shop at, or Apple. Apple's really the only place you can go shop with Chase points. I'm sorry, Chase points, it's usually travel and Apple that you can spend points directly and get the most value. Otherwise, they're just going to give you some type of gift card at wherever it is, where Amex, you can literally go buy anything with their points. So that is another big difference. But both cards are great. And I definitely recommend that if you're going to be traveling, pick whatever airline you like the most that flies near you and open up whatever business card they have. Okay, because I don't pay for any travel. Like I'm going to Vegas, the whole trip is basically free, and that's for a business event, right? It's doing things that are going to put you in the best position possible to succeed and to grow your company. All right, this is a big part of it. Make sure you're paying off the cards on time. I see way too many people that have great payment histories, should have great credit scores, and don't because of it.
100%. And guys, we could talk into this topic all day with other things, but also one thing to know is these cards too, and I'll leave it on that because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but these companies have other partnerships with other companies too. So like for Amex, for example, they have a partnership. They do have a Delta card. They do have a Marriott hotels card. Amex actually has a relationship with Amazon to where they have an Amazon branch card. So and Chase has some of their partners too, but guys, like you see the bigger ecosystem with some of these things on the business side as well. So, you know, again, I don't want to get too crazy with that because we can spend an hour on that alone.
All right, guys, you heard it here. Do us a favor, comment, leave us, share this with someone that needs to hear it, and we will catch you on Mindset Monday. Dave, thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother. Be great, y'all. Ding, 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 ding.